I knew if I ever once compromised, I was going to be in trouble. Because if you can compromise once, you can compromise again.
The first conscientious objector to earn the Congressional Medal of Honor. And entering the hellfire of war without a single weapon in hand, one man stood vigilant beside the beliefs and convictions he was born upon, willingly going to the furthest lengths in order to serve his country in honor while refusing to compromise his rights and beliefs, becoming a true American hero. Desmond T. Doss, refusing to compromise. Desmond Doss was born on February 7, 1919, into a family of Seventh-day Adventists. From a very young age, Doss was influenced by the Ten Commandments, particularly the sixth, being "Thou shalt not kill." It wasn't only the commandment itself that resonated with Doss, but the image that corresponded with it. It depicted Cain killing his brother Abel, and that was something Doss could not comprehend.
He was brought up as a Seventh-day Adventist, and our church strongly believes that no one should take the life of another person. Also, he had an experience when he was a young boy in a discussion with another person, he injured the person, and he felt really bad about that.
Later on in his early life, an incident regarding his father threatening his uncle with a gun prompted Desmond to vow never to touch a gun again for the rest of his life, a conviction that would bring him much pain but ultimately make him the hero he is remembered as today. December 7, 1941, a day that will forever go down in infamy. The bombings on Pearl Harbor shook the nation as a whole, plunging the U.S. into World War II.
A state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
At the time, Desmond was only 22 years of age, working in the Newport News Naval Shipyard. Despite being offered a deferment for working at the shipyard, Desmond enlisted for the Army during the draft in honor of serving his country. Expecting to be a medic, Desmond was surprised when he was assigned into a rifle company upon enlistment. He attempted to explain to his sergeant the reason he was supposed to be a medic due to his conviction of refusing to touch a gun, but was immediately shut down and put into conscientious objectors camp, sparking the beginning of the great battle between Desmond's convictions and the U.S. Army. A conscientious objectors camp was a place where individuals who had claimed the right to refuse or perform military service upon freedom of thought, religion, or conscience could stay during the war. People put in this camp were labeled as conscientious objectors and were often ridiculed, mocked, and joked about because of the fact that they were viewed as cowards for not having the desire to serve their own country. Desmond, on the other hand, wanted to serve but had some of the same contradictions with the military, similar to those of other conscientious objectors, causing the military to place him in the camp. He considered himself a conscientious cooperator, where he was not willing to kill, but more than willing to serve, something the military would not understand until much later on.
I did believe in salute my country's flag, wearing my country's uniform, and serve my country the same as anyone else.
Due to his persistence to leave after being put into the camp, the Army let him out, but with a label he despised: conscientious objector. Back in the Army, Desmond was placed in the 77th Division in South Carolina for basic training at Fort Jackson. Due to his religion and convictions, Desmond was soon made a target for ridicule and alienated from the rest of his fellow soldiers. They all strongly believed that Desmond was putting up an act to get out of service.
You didn't want him in your unit, you didn't want to have anything to do with him, and he was immediately branded with a scarlet letter, so to speak.
During Desmond's prayer, some of the soldiers would also throw shoes and other objects at him, ridiculing and mocking him for his religion. He was soon considered a joke in his company, publicly tormented daily, and made fun of. The negative attitude towards Desmond got so extreme to one point where he was given a death threat from one of his fellow soldiers.
He told me, I swear to God, Doss, you go in combat, I'll shoot you.
Little did Desmond know, this was just the beginning of his troubles with the Army, and the tough road ahead would put every ounce of his courage and beliefs to the test. Moving with the 77th Division to Fort Pickett, Virginia, Desmond was to be severely tested yet again. Besides his conviction not to take life, Desmond followed another principle that he learned growing up. This was told through the fourth commandment, telling him to keep the Sabbath day holy. For Desmond, this meant not working from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. He reserved an entire day dedicated to praying and exercising his religion, but to his fellow soldiers, it seemed more like a break in a privilege no one else was receiving, making Desmond the center of hatred yet again.
If you have served in the military, one of the things that the military strives for is that everyone is going to be treated equal. And the other fellows, the other military people, they felt that he was getting a special privilege that no one else had.
Due to the fact that he got a day off, when he came back on Sunday, Desmond was given all the rough breaks, duties, and jobs, never complaining and always complying. After a month in the infantry, Desmond received some very welcome news. The Army was moving him back into the medical attachment. Although his new commanding officer in the medical corps, Captain Statman, was Jewish and believed in the same Sabbath as Desmond, he found annoyance in Desmond's requests in regards to taking the Sabbath day off. Desmond held his ground and faithfully kept his Sabbath every week, but tensions between Statman and Desmond began to grow. Finally, Statman had enough and refused to sign Desmond's passes or allow anyone else to sign them. In a letter, Desmond wrote that Statman had threatened to court-martial Desmond if he caused him any more trouble. Desmond's convictions ultimately ended up outweighing Statman's intimidation, and even under threat of court-martial, Desmond continued to ask for his weekly passes to respect his Sabbath and ultimately take a stand on behalf of his religion. In the summer of 1943, the 77th Division moved to Camp Hyder for desert training, where Desmond demonstrated his true selflessness. The conditions were harsh and severe, yet Desmond always put his men first, even if he didn't get the same in return, treating raw and blistered feet, sharing his already too small rations of water, and caring for those with dehydration and sunstroke.
They found out I put my heart in my work, and I want to help all of them I could.
His commanding officer at the time, Jack Glover, did not only want Desmond to be removed from the company, but from the Army as a whole. Glover felt that the entire company would be better off without Desmond, and expressed his concerns to his battalion commander, Colonel Gerald Cooney, attempting to remove Desmond from the company.
I said, well, we're going into a war, and it's kill or be killed, and everyone has to have a damn gun.
At the end, Glover did not succeed in removing Desmond, but managed to put Desmond's willpower and convictions to the test yet again. In October of 1943, the 77th Division moved to Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. It was here that Doss would prevail in his last and final stand for his rights as an American soldier. Under the worst of circumstances, abused, ridiculed, and unfairly punished by his officers, the worst, at least for Desmond, was yet to come. This daunting day arrived when Desmond received a letter from home, writing that his brother was enlisted in the Navy, and if he wanted to see him before he left, he would have to come home.
Desmond had all of his papers signed and ready for a 2-week furlough, and the only thing standing between Desmond and home was Cunningham. With high hopes, Doss was crushed when Cunningham ripped his papers, saying that Doss had not qualified with a weapon. Even in the lowest point in his life, Desmond stood strong and refused to compromise or give in to the agony, knowing it was just another play by the military to get him to leave.
I couldn't hardly talk on the telephone. I was so shook up and crying.
The following day, Doss's year-long battle and resilience would all be worth it when Captain Statman welcomed him back into the medical corps. Desmond's father had made one phone call to the War Service Commission, reminding them of the regimental orders signed by President T. Roosevelt, stating that COs did not have to bear arms. Prevailing once and for all, Desmond's refusal to compromise his values in times of most urgent conflict did not fail him, but was what carried him to the end and allowed him to fight through.
I don't think that would have understood that he just had enough inculcation of his religion to say, I'm not going to do this. I don't know what it cost me, but I'm not going to have a grenade or a pistol or a rifle, even though, as was pointed out, other medics did.
Doss ended up going with the 77th Division to serve as a medic in Okinawa, Japan during World War II, where he single-handedly saved 75 men under gunfire, while the rest of his men retreated on the Maeda Escarpment, making him the first conscientious objector to be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Doss's refusal to compromise his values even when faced with the hardships of conflicts and hardships sent a message to all Americans as well as other conscientious objectors. It was because of the fact that he stood so strongly by his values that he was able to pull through and act as a beacon of light to all of his fellow soldiers, allowing his company to claim victory in the last and bloodiest battle of World War II. Since Doss, there have been 2 other conscientious objectors who have been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, following his legacy and path. JFK once said that war will exist until that distant day when the conscientious objector enjoys the same reputation and prestige that the warrior does today, and Doss was the largest stepping stone in the ideological vision and dream that will forever live on.